Hello, my name's Neil Perkins and welcome to the third round of this year's Mintex Rally Championship, based here at Carlisle Airport and offering 2 days of special stages in Kielder Forest in Northumberland. After 2 rounds of this year's championship, Steve Petch has a commanding lead after taking 2 second places in both Yorkshire and in Wales. It's certainly all to play for this weekend, with Glyn Jones here in a Subaru Impreza and Brian Bell making a return to the series in a Ford Escort World Rally car. Now, as I say, we're here at Carlisle Airport. Before the rally takes place, there's a cracking rally show here. Let's take a look at what's on offer.
Well, plenty on offer here, and some 6,000 fans turning out to not only see the rally show, of course, but the 2 special stages, the short stages through the various chicanes here at Carlisle Airport. Yes, plenty on display. Model cars for the inner man, the ubiquitous burger grill, and cars of all shapes and sizes. This is a new electric car built in Carlisle called the Fox One. This is the motorised settee. We have a motorised orange, and this shed was actually built around a trike, a motorised trike, complete with the exhaust system there. A double bed, not quite sure why it says comfy banana on it. In fact, quite the most extraordinary display of vehicles that's ever been collected in one place at one time, I would suggest. The bath, complete with the double shower unit, but getting to something a little bit more serious, Russ Swift, the absolute master of this sort of precision driving and two-wheeling, doing it in a Rover 75. Great to see these cars now selling so well. In fact, Russ drove me in this very machine the previous evening, and I must say it is certainly a luxury motor car. So the fans gathered here to see this third round of the Mintex Championship. This event running in parallel, of course, with the Mobile One event. In fact, the Mintex boys just doing a couple of stages less on day 1. There you see the first 2 stages of the airport, and then 2 big long stages in Kielder, one to the south of Kielder Water and then Foulstone to the north. And this is the most challenging, difficult rally territory, I would suggest, anywhere in Europe. All eyes on car 101, the Ford Focus of Stephen Finlay, and Neil Perkins spoke to him.
Stephen, you start as possibly the favourite to win this event. What is your experience of the past of Kielder Forest?
Oh, it's a long time ago from being in Kielder, but it's good stages. I think the day I was talking to Kenny McKinstry, and he was out watching some of the stages, and he says that a lot of punctures, so a lot of big stones about. So we're just going to take care and no cuts and try to get through the stages.
You've had the car now for 3 rallies. How does it compare with your past rallying exploits?
Well, we're out last weekend in Killarney, and we won the event on tarmac, and the car is just fantastic. It needs a wee bit of work in the suspension and on the tarmac end, but it's perfect for the gravel, and we're really looking forward to it.
Is Michael Wilson's team using your programme here as a form of test and development for their WRC programme?
Well, some of the bits probably would be new parts, but I think it just basically wants the car out, get it out and get it seen, and especially in the British scene, and you know, hopefully more customers for them.
Does that hold the door open possibly for you for next year to drive it in the BRC?
Well, hopefully that's our plan, and is for the British Championship next year, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this event, just to get back into the forest and to get more miles under the belt.
Brian, you missed the second event of the championship. Why was that?
Well, I was ill at the time. I couldn't make it. I was in bed with a slipped disc and a bout of the flu, so couldn't have reason.
And what about your track record here in Kielder Forest?
I quite like Kielder. We've had a couple of good runs on the border rally in the last couple of years, so looking forward to getting out there again.
And Brian, while you were in your hospital bed, Mr. Jones out there was winning the Vauxhall Panorama Rally.
Yeah, it comes round now and again, a little win, 2-3 times a year, but that was one of them, I suppose.
Was that win the reason you're here this weekend?
You can say that, yes. Yes, it made us come up all the way to the M6 to have a crack at another grand year.
And when was the last time you were here in Kielder Forest, back in the 1980s?
Oh, blimey. I haven't got a clue. I wouldn't have a faintest idea, to be honest.
Brian, over the last few years you've won several national championships. What gives you that adrenaline buzz to want to come back?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I think it's possibly a lack of nothing else to do, quite frankly. Unfortunately, the way I suppose the way the competitions now are put together, you can't progress from the Mintex series into the international series in the UK, so you really don't have a lot of choice. You've got to come back and do the national rounds. But apart from that, I mean, it's still fun. Yeah.
Are you pleased by the regulation changes for next season allowing World Rally cars into the British Championship?
Well, I think it was inevitable. I mean, the World Championship and World Rally cars obviously are very much in the forefront, and that seems to be growing. So for the British Championship not to allow them would certainly be a retrograde step. I don't think there's any question about that.
I'm looking at this weekend. We have Stephen Findlay in the Focus. Can you match him, do you think, in Kielder?
No. No. No, I mean, the car will hopefully be a lot better than it was last time we used it, but I don't actually know because I haven't driven it. But that aside, I mean, Stephen's in a different league. You know, there's no question about that.
So what's your plan? Second place?
I would be delighted with second place. I'm kind of hoping that you know, he has lots of punctures and I don't. But I think that's, yeah, I'm dependent on him having bad luck, to be perfectly honest.
Steve, 2 second places, championship lead. Does that put you under any pressure this weekend?
Well, you're always under pressure at a rally like this. No, we're just going to treat the rally as the rally. Keep our fingers crossed that we keep nice, clean and tidy.
They're in Kielder Forest, it's your backyard, so to speak. Are there any friends and family out there spurring you on?
Well, I would hope so, but you call it our backyard. It's a very, very big backyard, and I wish I knew it as a backyard. No, it'll be exciting. Kielder's always a challenge. Today will be no different to any time that we're going to Kielder.
Anthony, you've been here many years ago. What are your memories of Kielder Forest?
The last time I was here, it was very, very rough, if I remember rightly. We were running well down the field, and we had a problem with it. We lost a brake pipe off the rigger, which even made it more interesting, I suppose. But that was the last time I was in Kielder, so I hope things go well today.
Does the fact you had 2 good runs on the first 2 rounds give you confidence?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I would like to think it would anyway. We'll just see how it goes, I think. I don't make too many predictions at the moment.
Jack, good news and bad news before the start of the Pirelli Carlisle City Challenge.
Yeah, we just had some news from our rivals in Owlands. Unfortunately in Wales they've had a big off on the first stage of the Plains Rally, and that's put them out. So obviously I've got to put that to the back of my mind now because we were challenging with them in this championship. But we're looking forward to this event. They're not here, but there's plenty of other good cars out today. There's a hell of an entry list, and it's going to be very difficult in F2. I think there's a lot of good challenges and some fantastically long stages. And from what I've heard of already this morning, they're saying the stages are very hard and rough, and it's going to be a real challenge.
And we know the Peugeot 106s aren't registered for the Mintex Championship, but do you think you can match them at all?
Well, we're certainly looking to do that. I mean, they are very, very quick, and there's some top drivers driving them, so I'll be looking at my times closely, and I think we can get fairly close to them. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but the car feels good. Pat Johnson's done a great job preparing it again, and we're very happy with Michelin's to keep us on the road, and yeah, hopefully it's all going to go well again.
So plenty of anticipation for the first of the Mintex cars, the Ford Focus, the first time we've seen one in the British mainland other than on the network queue. And this is actually an ex-Colin McRae car, one of 70 used last year incidentally, but this is the car in which he won last year's Safari Rally. The car then moved on to Thomas Rodstrom. More of that later as Brian Lyle, back now with a 4-door Subaru, pushing it through this little stage here. Lots of fun for the spectators, lots of tyre smoke too, and plenty of handbrake. Championship leader Steve Petch in his Mellors built Escort WRC. The Gittel Casters back car. Steve, of course, 2 second places in the series thus far, and hoping to improve his position here. Glyn Jones, having won the previous Mintex round, making the long trip up from Carmarthen in the 104 X Subaru All-Stars car. Hugh Lewis now co-driving for Glyn. Ryland James was with him on the previous event. Brian Bell, of course, the BTRDA Silver Star champion from last year, with co-driver and teacher Paul Spooner there on the notes as ever. This car prepared by Dominic Buckley. and one of the very last Escort WRCs to be built. Brian's previous car, of course, catching fire. We can see what this stage looks like from inside with Anthony Eaton, co-driver Peter Hartland, a pair of them coming from Northallerton. Anthony Eaton's been rallying since he was 20 years old. He's now 40. This is a sort of Escort WRC, but not with a sequential gearbox or any of the clever diffs. Stage starting with this broken tarmac surface. Here the old diffs whining away. Now onto a perimeter road for the airport. This little Carlisle airport has a few flights a week. Quite a lot of private flying as well. And Anthony Eaton, one of the regulars on the Mintex series now, one of the leading contenders. So he'll be looking for a good result here in Kielder. Using the old descriptive note method rather than a method using numbers. Now in front of the rally show, and you can see the big crowd there. So Anthony Eaton obviously having a good run. The cars actually run through this stage twice before heading off to Kielder. Now here is the Subaru Impreza coming, one that we have high hopes for. The former BTRDA Gold Star top contender, really sliding the tail out. Phil Morgan with Martin Douglas on the notes. Round through the various straw bales, and next up Jim Carty, a last-minute entry in the Metro, just one Metro with us for this event. And news that the Mintex series will allow some cars like this actually into the championship in the future. Coordinator Roger Evans discussing that matter with a number of competitors over recent weeks. Here is probably the leading Group N car, Wayne Sisson in the Arndale Ford-backed Mitsubishi. This is an Evo 5. And Wayne Sisson on his way, neat and tidy through there. And his main contender in Group N will almost certainly come from this Subaru. Number 111, David Brown from Darlington. 45 years old, but only in his second season of rallying. Paul Hudson alongside him. And from Northern Ireland now, Robert Woodside in a McKinstry Hire Subaru Legacy. The car, of course, now 6 or 7 years old, but still a competitive machine in rallying like this, and Robert, a quick driver. And here's one of the local favourites from Yorkshire, of course, Banner, Steve Bannister, in this Escort Mark II. Under the bonnet, though, a Vauxhall Astra engine, prepared by the John Dell concern. Well, these were the times, the second time through this stage, and that's what we were looking at. Lyle, Woodside and Finlay all on the 1:55 mark. So Woodside, perhaps the surprise amongst that trio there. But we move into Kielder Water and Kielder Forest. Kielder Forest, the largest man-made forest in Europe. This stage, Turin Head, 22.5 miles long, 36.1 kilometres, just south of Kielder Water, which is the largest man-made lake in Europe. So here the focus, Stephen Finlay on his third event with this car, which he acquired from M Sport. Brian Lyle back, as we said, in the four-wheel drive 4-door Subaru rather than the 2-door. Did not get on at all with the WRC car, of course had 2 early crashes and has reverted to this machine. Plenty of fans out on a sunny and very, very dusty day in Kielder. Steve Petch knows the forest well, so does his co-driver, John Richardson. And you can see the dust coming up there. And these forests, very, very gravelly, big stones on top of the surface. The quick motorsport prepared car of Glyn Jones. Glyn, over 50, but still a quick man. 2 years ago, the Welsh National Rally Champion, of course. Mark Perrott winning it last year. And off into the forest, and you might just catch another glimpse of him there. Yeah, a flash of red, and he heads off towards the end of the stage. Brian Bell, we've said it many times before, the slot machine king with this beautifully built car. And again, you can just see the dust, and that's a problem when you run at 1 minute intervals, and sometimes it blows in one direction and the next time it blows in a different direction. That's the car we rode with earlier on the airport, Anthony Eaton. Plenty of popping and banging from the anti-lag system. Phil Morgan, I get the impression that he isn't really enjoying this, finding it difficult to get a balance on this surface, which has been, to a degree, swept clean by the Mobil 1 runners. Here it is Jim Carty. The glorious rasp of the V6 motor there in the 6R4, still a great crowd favourite. Again, heads off into the loop. Meanwhile, we get Wayne Sisson, top Group N contender. And already news coming through of the fastest time. Robert Woodside, there he is. This originally ProDrive built car. But the best time, 19 minutes 01.4 coming through. Yes, you guessed it, from the Focus. Taking great heaps of time, over a minute out of Steve Petch, and even more out of Brian Lyle. I think must have had a puncture or some problem on that stage. Jones, third fastest as we hear it, from the end of the section. So the Focus, not surprisingly, with a talented driver like Stephen Finlay going very strong. This is Phil Walker with the Mazdas. Had a few problems recently with this car, breaking drive shafts. The old Mazda 323. Phil Walker coming down from Scotland. Nice to see him out. The Carlisle City Challenge, also a round of the Peugeot Super 106 Cup. This is patrolman Andy Burnell with Neil Dashfield. And expect some of these really quick boys in the 106 Cup to be right up in the top 10. This is Martin Stansom, who finished second in the championship last year to Mark Fisher. Mark Fisher actually entered for this event in a McKinstry Subaru, but deciding not to do it after having a good run in Ireland the previous week. This is Andy Gwynn, one of the leading contenders in the Formula 2 section. Andy Gwynn from Cheltenham, the rally school instructor. Barry Groundwater in that unsign-written Mitsubishi there, car number 123 from Stonehaven. A newcomer to the series, but certainly going quickly at this point. The cigar-smoking surgeon, John Osobski, who says this is his last year of rallying, from Paul in Wharfdale. 127, Chris Blake in the Northallerton Tyre and Battery Escort, the 43-year-old, been rallying a long time. Went very well in Toyota, I remember, back in 1988. 128. This is Andrew Appley, a Mintex Series regular from Wakefield in the Sapphire Cosworth, kicking up the dust as he goes on. Another of the leading Formula 2 runners, John McElraith. He should know his way through here. He looks after some of the forestry machinery right in this forest, so maybe he's got a bit of an advantage here. But we now have confirmation of the times on Sheeran Head. Finlay, you see, taking that great chunk out of Petch, Jones, Lyle, Carty, Robert Woodside going well. Groundwater right up there in the top 7, and Wayne Sisson the best of the group ends. Welcome back. The beautiful Kielder water and the forest surrounded, of course, this challenging, difficult tracks through this man-made complex. And we see just what it's like here as we join Andy Gwynn and John Youde. John Youde, the 1982 Welsh champion rally navigator, with Andy Gwynn from Cheltenham. Andy Gwynn, a rally instructor. In fact, he taught Joe Brand to go rallying, if you remember the comedian, taking part in a number of events about 3 years ago in a little Daihatsu. Well, Andy was her coach. This Corsa, one of the quicker Formula 2 cars in the Mintex Championship. Incidentally, can tell you that his rival Jack Cook is out of the event with a problem. Just look at these ditches on the sides here, and notice that Andy's actually ditch hooking it quite a bit, just using the ditches to get a bit of extra grip. Watch here, puts the front wheel in the ditch. Now that can be dangerous, that can give you a puncture, and these Kielder ditches are well known for sucking you in, and they are deeper than in a normal forest. There again he's ditch hooking it, and in fact it's tossed him out and he's out of control. Oops. Well, not quite sure what that comment was, but after that stage it was Stephen Finlay who was leading by a larger margin. Steve Petch and Brian Lyle having a big fight, and Glyn Jones right in there with them, and then Robert Woodside in 5th place.
Stephen, 4 stages gone. It's been a good start for you.
Yeah, we're very happy. We had a good run over the last 2 stages. The stage before the last was a bit gravelly towards the edge and a lot of big rocks, so we just drove a fairly sensible and no cuts in case we got a puncture, and well, it paid off.
Are you surprised how far ahead you are from Brian Lyle?
Yeah, we're a bit surprised, to be honest, and I think I'm sure we took a minute or something on him on that stage, and I think we're a minute and 17 now in total, so we're delighted with our times.
How hard are you trying out there in the forest?
Well, we're not giving it all. We're just enjoying the car and getting into the flow, but it's good.
Steve, 2nd place yet again after the end of day 1, but a good advantage over Brian Lyle.
Yeah, it's a long way to go. Big day tomorrow, 29 miler in the morning, so it's all to do. We've had a few punctures today which have lost us a little bit of time. We need to find out why we're having punctures. We think we've got a caster camber problem on the rear end, so the lads are waiting in service to have a look and see what we can do.
Do you take stock now and think, well, I'm top Mintex Championship contender, do I push for 2nd place, or do I let Brian go ahead tomorrow?
No, we're doing a rally, aren't we, so we'll just do a rally. The championship comes into play, but not first thing tomorrow morning. It's a long way to go. It's not a big cushion from Brian Lyle. You know, just need a couple of small mistakes and all of a sudden you're not far enough away.
Brian, you said before the start that 2nd place would be a good result. Do you still feel the same?
Yep. I mean, Stevens, I said before, he compared with us, he is effectively in a league of his own. So it is certainly 2nd place that we would be looking for. But having said that, we've had a fairly bad start. We've had centre diff problems again. So we're losing time to Steve Petch. And we've had 1 or 2 little spins and so on and so forth, but I think we're managing to keep ahead of everybody else, so we're going to go and change a whole pile of things in the car now, and hopefully, well, I'd like to think we can take the time back off Steve tomorrow, so we'll see.
Robert, you started well at the airport, but you had a problem on the 3rd stage in Kielder.
Yeah, we were quite surprised. We found that we had a good time on the first 2 stages. Went into the 3rd stage, which was 17 miles, I think it was, a long stage. And about 4 or 5 miles in, we hit a big rock that bent the front right strut. We just had to cruise out of the stage with it, so a bit disappointing, but it's dropped us back off the leaderboard a little bit.
And what about tomorrow, those 3 stages in Kielder? Quite long stages, can you recoup the time?
If we don't, it certainly won't be through lack of trying. We'll be trying very hard tomorrow. we only have 3 stages to do it is the problem. So if you have a problem early on in one of the big long stages, you're out of contention totally. So
Wayne, quite a battle out there today.
Yeah, it's been interesting. The first stage this morning, the first proper gravel stage this morning, was very slippy. We visited a ditch twice, which made it interesting for the rest of the day, just to get our confidence back really.
So you're hovering on the top 5 overnight. Can you push possibly for the top 4 on the last 3 stages tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean the first one in the morning is going to sort a lot of it out. I think there's certainly going to be some things decided in that one, so we'll try pushing hard on that one in the morning and see how far we can get.
4 stages gone at the end of the first day of the Pirelli Carlisle City Challenge. 3 more stages tomorrow in Kielder Forest. Can Steve Petch hold on to 2nd place and keep his lead in the Mintex Championship? And can Stephen Finlay carry on to lead in the Ford Focus World Rally car? Join us after the break.
So day 3, the first stage, an 11 miler before the big 29 miler. Just down the road from here, of course, Hadrian's Wall, built in AD 22 by the Emperor Hadrian. It's 73 miles long. Well, this stage isn't quite that long, but certainly Stephen Finlay is flying here. The man who burst onto the scene as a teenager in 1986. When we having a spin there as well, and I think he's got picked up a puncture. In 1988, Stephen won the Kale Graphics, also still a teenager. Finished 2nd in the Mobile 1 British Rally Championship, driving with Malcolm Wilson. Malcolm Wilson just beat him in 1994, finished 2nd on the Pirelli, 2nd on the Scottish, 2nd on the Ulster, 6th on the Isle of Man. Meanwhile, we move on to Steve Petch. Stephen Finlay, of course, well in the lead. Steve Petch having this big battle for 2nd place. Steve, who owns a number of car sales emporiums, let's call them, up in the northeast. Here is the man he's fighting with, Brian Lyle, another man who made his fortune in the car retail business, Anderson Cars in Scotland. Of course, subsequently sold out that group of garages. Now spends a lot of his time in Spain, but loves to come back rallying in Britain. Glyn Jones is a civil engineer from Carmarthenshire, as we said. Another very high-spec Subaru Impreza 555. I think that car did a number of World Championship rallies. I think maybe with Kamioka driving it. Here's another ex-Pro Drive car, Robert Woodside, having a very good run. The youngster whose father, of course, owns one of the biggest trucking companies in Northern Ireland. You often see their green and white trucks up and down the M1. Robert Woodside hoping to stay in the top 5 here. Jim Carty in the Metro. And having a bit of an overshoot there, and 5 or 6 seconds lost. Hooks it into reverse. That's obviously a very difficult point just there. And then through the bridge. Can't go wide, because if you do, you hit the bridge parapet. You see the big stones flying up, and a number of the competitors getting punctures in this tricky terrain. One of those, of course, Finlay. We saw him go towards the end of the stage with a rear puncture. Wayne Sisson also sliding wide on the entry to that bridge. And Sisson leading Group N, and also right there in the middle of the top 10. So this is Brian Bell. That's, I believe, one of the last cars originally built as an Escort WRC by M Sport, chassis number 31. And subsequently rebuilt by the Buckleys. That's got quite a lot of high-tech bits on it. Here's Phil Morgan. Phil saying at the end of the second day. He just wasn't enjoying this at all, just couldn't get any grip on the stony stages, and Phil, I think we'd expected to be right up there at the sharp end of the top 10. In fact, he's languishing towards the bottom end of the top 10, so he'll be rather disappointed with that. Next up, the popping banging of the groundwater Mitsubishi, still going extremely well. One of the surprise packages. Lots of things happening in the Peugeots. This is a fast and furious man from Ireland, Rory Gallagher, and we'll bring you a full report of the Peugeot Super 106 Cup in a later programme. But here is Paul Wedgbury, who was certainly having a very good run, but everything was to change in the Peugeot Cup on the very last stage. Here is Banner in the Escort Mark II. Has done some rallying recently in an old Mitsubishi Galant as well, but everyone likes the Mark II. David Brown again, this relative newcomer, the driving force back to Subaru. Characteristic engine note of the flat 4. Chris Blake again in the Northallerton tyre and battery car. A lot of rally drivers seem to come from Northallerton. I suppose Yorkshire Forest's close by. Andrew Appley again in the old Sierra. Keeping it nice and clean. Here's this man that knows the forest so well, McElraith in the Peugeot through the bridge, and news coming that Andy Gwynn, after a brake problem, has gone off, so it looks as if Formula 2 could be McElraith. Here's a rare car, Toyota Levin of Colin and Graham Gent. And this is Neil Buckley, Dominic's younger brother from Kelso, of course, leading the VW Polo Challenge. This event also a round of that particular series. And here's Sam Roach, I think is the marketing manager at VW, practicing what he preaches, and third in the Polo Cup. But there you see Finlay, despite the punctures, still fastest on special stage 6. Lyle, Jones and Petch all very closely matched. And now we can join Wayne Sisson, co-driven by Kevin Savage, not his brother as in the past. Wayne from Camforth in the Evo 4 Mitsubishi here. And again, you can see these big ditches and Kielder. In a lot of places the trees seem to be very close to the side of the track. Not particularly here, but these ditches go in there and you won't normally come out. Just a little bit of Dutch hanging and very, very sideways on. Wayne Sisson having a good run, downhill section here. Up through the gears. Hairpin left, yeah, this 3 right coming up. And Wayne Sisson leading the Group N section from David Brown. I'm sure afterwards he'll be comparing his times with some of the Group N runners in the Mobil 1 series. They have been over the same track a little earlier in the day. So as the rally comes to a conclusion, let's check out the top 10. It was David Brown who headed home to 10th place, second in Group N in the Subaru Impreza. In 9th place, yet another stunning run from Banner, Steve Bannister in the Vauxhall-powered Mark II. What a great shot there of Steve concentrating around this final left-hander of the rally. In 8th place in the ex-Brian Lyle Subaru, the left-hand drive car, Phil Morgan. Into 7th place, he had been 5th earlier on, but still a very good run for Robert Woodside, the youngster from Northern Ireland. In 6th place, finishing the rally with a big puncture, Brian Bell. In 5th place, the winner of Group N, a smooth, immaculate run from Wayne Sisson. Fourth place, Glyn Jones backing up his excellent result on the previous round, all the way from Wales. Glyn Jones in 4th place. Just edged out in 3rd place after the big battle, Brian Lyle. But he kept it on the road. He'll be happy with that. Coming home second to increase his championship hopes, Steve Petch and John Richardson in the Geatel Escort. Co-driven by the experienced Rory Kennedy, an immaculate run. Dominating the rally, Stephen Finlay in the ex-Safari Rally winning Ford Focus.
Stephen, many congratulations, a good win there for you. Was it a case of plain sailing over those last 3 stages?
Well, the first stage this morning was 29 miler, and but 6 mile from the end of it we got a puncture, and we had a few spins on that, so we dropped a fair wee bit of time, but the next 2 stages was fine. And then that last stage off the line on 4th gear, she jammed in 4th, and had to drive the stage in 4th the whole way through, and there's quite a lot of hairpins, so we lost a fair bit of time, but we're still won over, I think it's over a minute and 20 or something.
Steve, another 2nd place, but maximum points for you in the Mintex Championship.
Yes, it's been quite a long event, but it's a pleasing result.
What about the battle today with Brian Lyle closing in behind you?
Yeah, that's been quite good. I mean, Brian's had a real push over the last two or three stages. Well, should I say the last 2 stages, basically. We took time out of him on the first one this morning, but he clawed quite a lot back this afternoon. So we've just been trying to drive to get a good finish and just keep ahead of him, and we've managed to do that.
Must be over 20 degrees out there today. How does that affect your concentration in the rally car?
Well, you lose a fair bit.
A valiant attempt there to catch Steve Petch, but not quite.
No, I think fortunately the last stage, a lot of it was downhill, which meant that the engine problem we have, it wasn't really a factor, to be honest. I wasn't trying to catch Steve, that wasn't really the plan. The plan was trying to keep in front of the guy that was behind us. So, yeah, it was just luck. But having said that, the truth of the matter is that, I've been probably 80% of the rally, I've been driving particularly badly. But I know that, so I'm not concerned about it, And as I say, it's not, we came effectively a test sessions for the next round of the Scottish Championship, so it's been worthwhile.
Wayne, a great finish for you and a good winning Group N. Does that give you confidence and possibly wanting to do a Mintex campaign for the rest of the year?
Yeah, we'll have to see how finances go on time, really. Yeah, it's been very good, the confidence boosting, and being able to match times with Group A cars as well, which is very good.
Are you surprised by that?
Well, yes and no. I know that we can push it a bit, so the long stages does help me a bit, I think, with my experience. So,
what do you think of Kill the Forest after 2 days of action?
Been very, very hard work, very slippy and very unpredictable. It's, you could have a really, really big accident in there this weekend.
John, many congratulations. A good finish there and a win in Formula 2 for you.
Thanks very much. A tough day. I think a lot of it's been down to maybe the downfall of Jack Cook and Andy Gwynn as well. But at the end of the day, we're here, so quite happy.
Does that win mean now that you have to go to the Scottish National Rally and maybe the rest of the year?
Well, the Pirelli and the Scottish, the local events anyway, so we'll be there.
With Stephen Finlay not registered for the Mintex Championship, it's this man who took the maximum points, Steve Petch, that boosts his score to 69 points. David Brown is second, Glyn Jones is third, he could yet challenge Andrew Appley. Anthony Eaton, who retired from the event, 37 points, Jeremy Nolan, Jack Cook, John McElraith and the rest of them. The champagne sprays, though, for Rory Kennedy and Stephen Finlay. Rory, of course, has done this so many times before with Birdie Fisher, but now he does it with Stephen Finlay. Second, of course, championship leader, Steve Petch.
Well, that brings an end to our coverage of the Pirelli Carlisle City Challenge. As you can see, the last cars are still coming over the ramp behind us. We'll be back in June with full coverage of the Scottish National Rally from Dumfries. From all of us here from the World Motorsports team here in sunny Carlisle, it's goodbye for now.